I'm now looking at page 9 of your booklet, number 3. It's in the section Grammar Matters, but I noticed you've got some work to do on homophones. You know, those are words that sound the same, but are spelled differently. And it can be very confusing. There are many connections between maths and English. How about this? Take a look at that. One says there's 3 rods, another says there's 4. And you'd have a job to convince anybody which is right. It's a little bit like that with homophones. Sometimes they're very confusing. So I'm going to take you through a number of homophones which I know a lot of people find difficult. I've taken you through 1 or 2 of these before, but let's have a look again. Okay, first up, the difference between its with an apostrophe and its. The fact is that this one with the apostrophe, that stands for a missing letter. So in fact, it stands for it is, whereas this is just simply its. Let's look at a few examples. So the dog wagged its tail. Which its would you put in there? I hope you're saying its tail without an apostrophe, because you couldn't say the dog wagged its tail. Wouldn't make sense, would it? So that's one. What about this one? It's a very expensive car. Which its would you put in there? You would in fact put it is a very expensive car, because that's short for it is, isn't it? And then number 3, home cooking at its very best. Which its would you put in there? This one or this one? Yes, I hope you said it's without the apostrophe, because you couldn't say home cooking at it is very best. It's home cooking at its very best. Okay, let's move on. What about this one? Lots of people get confused between your and you are. As I've pronounced it, this one, of course, stands for you are, whereas this is just your coat, your hat. Let's look at a couple of examples. You are a great ballerina and your clothes look fabulous. Which would you put in there? You are a great ballerina. Shortened version of you are. So the apostrophe stands for an A, and this one, of course you would. You'd put in your clothes look fabulous. And then this one, you're always putting yourself down. Don't do it. Which one would you put in there? Yes, you are, short for you are. Next up, the 3 theirs. This one is all to do with space. It's over there, or there it is. This one is the there that belongs. Something is in their garden, their house, their coat. And this one, what do you think that says? Really, it says they are. It's the shortened version of they are. So looking at examples again, which would you put in here? Their house is being put on the market. I hope you said the one that belongs, because at the moment it belongs to them. It's their house. And this one, they're going to Tenerife for Easter. Lucky them. And it's this one, isn't it? It's the shortened version of they are going to Tenerife for Easter. And then finally, in this section, there is a cat on the roof of that car over there. So what's that got to do with? There is a cat on the roof. Yes, it's to do with space, isn't it? And over there, also to do with space. And incidentally, there should be a full stop there, shouldn't there? Tut tut. Whose and whose? Again, this is the shortened version of who is. So when you ask, whose bag is that? Would you be saying, who is bag is that? No, of course you wouldn't. You'd say, whose bag is that? And then this one, is that the player who's signed for Arsenal? And it would be this one, wouldn't it? Who is signed for Arsenal? Moving on. Where and where. This is to do with wearing your clothes, and this is to do with where as in a question. Again, it's largely to do with space. Where are they? Where are my car keys? Whereabouts are they? Yes, you wouldn't wear as in this one with your car keys, would you? You wouldn't wear your car keys. Where are my car keys? He always knows what to wear. Lucky him. So that one has got a full stop, and that, of course, is wearing of clothes. Were and where. Certain people have a real problem with this, and it depends which part of the country you come from as to whether you will have a problem or not. Because a lot of us would just simply say were and where, and you can tell that they're very different, can't you? So the Beatles were really famous in the 60s. Of course it's were. And then this one, I remember the restaurant where we had that great pizza. Where, again. Fairly obvious, that one, I think. Next up, been and being. Now that's interesting because been is usually to do with the past tense, in that where have you been? Whereas this is to do with, normally this one is to do with the present tense. You are being something. We are being taught English. We are being taught how to touch type by Simon French. Being, it's current, it's now. Yes, well done. And the next one, Louis has been doing something for a number of years. Louis has been learning English for 4 years. It's all to do with the past, isn't it? My new job will involve typing, filing, answering phones, and generally being friendly to customers. Which being would you put in there? It's still current, isn't it? So it's being. Well done if you got that right. This one I think you can probably hear when I pronounce loose and lose. Loose as in coming apart, and lose as in I lost it. I lost the pen. So which lose or loose would you put in here? Difficult to say without giving it away, isn't it? Don't lose your temper. It only leads to trouble. Lose. Don't lose your temper. And then this one. Those railings are coming loose. There's a loose moose about the hoose, or something like that, but this is to do with railings that are coming loose. Can you hear that? Loose. And next up, This one, a lot of people get wrong all over the country. Affect is a verb, it's current, it's to do with making a difference, doing something. Whereas effect, the second one, is a noun, which is a naming word. It is the result of something, a change. So let's have a look at their breakup didn't affect her as much as she had thought. Now, which one would you put in there? It is affect her as much as she had thought. It didn't do as much as she had thought it would. Didn't make that much difference. And here we are with Rishi Sunak. The something of the budget on pensioners will be disastrous. The effect. Now that is something which is a result of something, isn't it? A change. So the effect of the budget, the change that the budget will make on pensioners will be disastrous. And of course it is the noun, effect. I hope that's helped a bit. It is a difficult one though, that. Practice and practice. Again, practice is the noun, the naming word, whereas this is when somebody is doing something, practicing spelling or whatever it might be. And this person's obviously going to be practicing the piano. So Becca hated going to piano practice as she didn't like having to practice her scales. So which would you put in here? Piano practice is the name of something, isn't it? So it's the noun. Whereas this one here is when she's actually doing something. It's the verb, and it's spelt with an S. The doctor's practice is a little further down the main road. That's the name of something, isn't it? The doctor's practice, so it's the noun with the C. Advice, that is the noun, the name of something, and advise is when you're actually doing something. You are advising somebody. So the counsellor gave Tahir some good advice. The careers service can advise you on job applications and interviews. So that's something that they are doing, isn't it? So that's the verb, and it's spelt with an S. Advise. I think you can hear the difference between those two. Advice and advise. And I hope that's helped you with your homophones. See you soon. Bye for now.